Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Speaker, I rise to provide an update on the recent global developments, its impact on fuel prices and the economy, and the measures government is taking to support our people and businesses. As requested, this statement covers all the questions that are related to the global fuel crisis, our economy, FCCC. Some of the questions were April questions, Honorable Speaker, sir. 3, 2026, 31, 2026, and also new questions, 89, 2026, 103, 2026, and 117, 2026, all related to the current global fuel crisis, the effect on our economy, as well as the role of FCCC. Mr. Speaker, sir, the global economic outlook has deteriorated sharply following the outbreak of war in the Middle East. However, prior to the conflict, the global economy was showing encouraging momentum, supported by strong investment, easing trade tensions, and supportive financial conditions. However, the escalation of the conflict has significantly weakened confidence and disrupted the recovery path in the global arena. So, Speaker, sir, the conflict is expected to impact the global economy through high commodity and fuel prices, rising inflations, disrupted supply chains, and tighter financial conditions. Increased energy costs are already feeding into transportation, food, fertilizer, and manufacturing prices worldwide. Financial markets as well have also become increasingly volatile. In its April 2026 assessment, the IMF has revised down the global growth projections and warned that downside risk remains substantial should the conflict persist or intensify. Mr. Speaker, sir, the conflict has triggered a upsurge in crude fuel prices rising by nearly 70%, from around $65 to over $110 per barrel. However, refined oil prices, which we pay when importing from Singapore, have in fact increased by over 150%, as refinery costs have also increased significantly. The overall increase in fuel prices in such a short span of time is unprecedented and has been compounded by increasing freight and insurance costs, adverse currency movement, force majeure or suspension of fuel contracts, and fuel companies required to compete in spot-based procurement with high premiums. Under the domestic impact, Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji as a small, open economy that is heavily dependent on imported fuel, we are highly vulnerable to the external oil price shocks. Rising global fuel prices continue to have significant implications on the economy, including increased inflationary pressures in the near future, higher business and transportation costs, impact on tourism and investment activity, and added pressure on government finances and our balance of payments. While uncertainty surrounding future global supply remains a concern, government has been proactive, is actively engaging through diplomatic channels and working closely with our international partners to secure fuel supplies. Mr. Speaker, sir, the impact of the global fuel crisis on Fiji is becoming increasingly challenging as rising fuel costs continue to place pressures on critical providers such as Energy Fiji Limited, Fiji Airways, the bus operators, fuel importers, and other fuel-dependent industries. Those services are essential to the functioning of our economy and the daily lives of our people. Any major disruption to electricity supply, transportation, or fuel distribution will have serious consequences on our business, our households, employment, public finances, national security as well, and the overall economic activity. Such disruptions, Mr. Speaker, sir, must therefore be avoided, and government has responded in a measured and well-calibrated manner. On 21 April 2026, Cabinet approved the redeployment of around 56 million within the existing 2025-26 budget to respond decisively to the impacts of the global fuel crisis. This does not involve any new borrowing. Rather, it reflects a prudent and responsible approach by government to prioritize funding from projects that we can delay or lower priority projects towards the urgent national needs during this crisis. And this includes contributions to the third and fourth cane payment. The third cane payment was made in April, and the fourth cane payment will be done this month. Our objective is clear, Mr. Speaker, sir, to protect livelihoods, maintain essential services, support economic activity, and cushion the impact of the most vulnerable members of our society. Mr. Speaker, sir, government has added swiftly to provide targeted relief to protect over 180,000 social welfare recipients with a 50% top-up in their monthly allowance for 3 months at an additional cost of 24 million. We had provided 4 million to support bus operators and ensure uninterrupted public transport services with a 10% bus fare subsidy. In addition, government has already removed a full 20 cents per litre duty on diesel for all bus companies. To safeguard energy security and maintain reliable electricity supply, government had provided fuel rebates to Energy Fiji Limited for 4 months from April to July, including 20 cents per litre on diesel and 12 cents per litre on heavy fuel oil. Total fiscal revenue foregone for providing fuel duty concessions to bus operators and EFL is 9 million. Other sectors like Intel and shipping also receive a full 20 cents per litre duty on diesel. Furthermore, kerosene and premix are already zero duty, while kerosene sales have zero VAT. Government had also supported Fiji Airways through relief on certain fees and charges, together with government assurances that the national airline will be protected during this crisis. And further measures will be provided in the next month. Mr. Speaker, sir, recently the FCCC, as the country's independent price regulator, approved a 22.5% increase in bus fares and an interim fuel surcharge of 5.91 cents per kilowatt hour for EFL. These measures were necessary to support the continued provision of bus service and ensure the security and reliability of electricity supply. The coalition government stands committed to protecting our people, our businesses, and the broader economy through this crisis, and therefore we are absorbing the 22.5% increase in bus fares announced by FCCC on top of the existing 10% bus fare subsidy that existed before. That means that none of the approximately 350,000 Fijians who rely on bus transport, including students using blue and yellow cards, as well as adults using red cards, will not pay any additional bus fares, despite the increase in fares. Government will fully absorb the 22.5% increase at an additional fiscal cost of 2 million per month. For all rural service license providers, or RSL, and boat operators providing transportation service to students, government will also support with additional vouchers to cater for the increase in the fuel cost. Currently, more than 57,000 domestic electricity customers receive electricity at a subsidized tariff of 17.67 cents per kilowatt hour, which is lower than the normal residential tariff of 34.01 cents per kilowatt hour, and at an annual cost of approximately 10 million to government. So none of these customers will bear any additional cost. Mr. Speaker, sir, we will also expand the subsidy of 5.91 cents per kilowatt hour to all MSMEs that have an annual gross income turnover of less than 30,000. For residential customers with household income above 30,000, as well as commercial and industrial customers, EFL will pass on this fuel surcharge. Mr. Speaker, sir, despite an increasingly challenging global environment, the Fijian economy has continued to demonstrate resilience in the early months of 2026. Visitors' arrival expanded by around 4.6% in the first 4 months of the year, while investment activity also remains supportive, underpinned by growth in new lending for investment purposes and stable building material prices. Currently, we have an investment pipeline of over 8 billion, which is an increase of over 1 billion in over 1.5 months. The financial sector has been sound, with ample liquidity in the banking sector and low interest rate, the back of accommodative monetary policy by the Reserve Bank. Currently, we managed to keep interest rate low to support growth. However, with sustained fuel supply and price hike pressure, it will provide or see pressures on rates rising in the future. Foreign reserves as well remain at a comfortable level of around 3.4 billion, with a retained imports cover of around 4.9%, and is projected to remain sufficient over the medium term. However, with prolonged fuel supply and price pressures, we can see pressure as well on our reserves. Mr. Speaker, sir, government's fiscal performance during the first 9 months of the year continued to reflect resilience and prudent fiscal management despite an increasingly difficult global environment. From August 25 to April 2026, government collected around 2.9 billion in revenue and recorded expenditures of around 3.2 billion, resulting in a deficit of around 370.5 million, equivalent to negative 2.6% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the revenue collection, at the end of April, we exceeded our forecast by around 71.5 million, or 2.5%. This strong performance was driven largely by tax revenues, which were above forecast by over 101 million, reflecting continued strength in economic activity, employment, consumption, and tourism-related sectors. The stronger than expected tax revenue performance was broadly based, Mr. Speaker, sir. Value-added tax increase, corporate tax as well, personal income tax, and departure tax as well. Total government expenditure at the end of April 2026 amounted to 3.2 billion, representing 68.1% of total budget expenditure. Mr. Speaker, sir, our total debt stock at the end of April stood at around 11.0 billion, equivalent to around 78.8% of GDP. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, the outlook has become increasingly uncertain due to the escalating geopolitical tensions and ongoing disruptions in the global fuel market. The Reserve Bank has cautioned that these developments are expected to place upward pressure on inflation, increase business operating costs, and weigh on household spending, tourism demand, and investor confidence. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to respond to a number of questions that were raised when I wasn't here in April, and concerns that have been raised regarding the current situation. I wish to assure this Honourable House, Mr. Speaker, sir, Government will continue to act in a responsible, prudent, and measured manner in responding to the current fuel crisis. Government has already implemented targeted support measures to the bus industry and EFL to cushion the impact of rising global fuel prices and maintain essential services. At the same time, it is important to recognize the fuel-related taxes remain a significant source of government revenue that finances critical public services, including healthcare, education, social welfare, infrastructure, and national security. Mr. Speaker, sir, a complete removal of fuel duty across the board would result in a revenue loss of more than 150 million and would materially weaken government's capacity to continue delivering the essential services and to support the vulnerable communities. Instead, Mr. Speaker, sir, government has adopted a more balanced, targeted, and fiscally responsible approach. Mr. Speaker, sir, the question on the methodology used by FCCC in determining fuel prices. FCCC applies a lowest cost operator principle in setting fuel supply on a monthly basis. Fuel and LPG prices determined using a transparent pricing methodology that reflects changes in international refined prices, exchange rates, shipping costs, taxes, and regulated wholesale and retail margins. This methodology is not arbitrary, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is an approved regulatory framework agreed upon by both the FCCC and the suppliers. And the main objectives of FCCC petroleum price control are to ensure fair and reasonable returns, maintain transparency in the fuel pricing structure, stabilize domestic fuel prices, and also protect the consumers from price gouging and excessive margins. Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji is an import-dependent island nation, and fuel imports are priced according to regional benchmarks, often linked to refined products in Singapore. And FCCC uses the means of flat Singapore or MOPS benchmark. Mr. Speaker, sir, questions have been raised regarding the April fuel pricing and whether FCCC deviated from its methodology. I wish to clarify that there was no deviation in the fuel pricing. Rather, FCCC exercised its regulatory discretion to extend the pricing window to better reflect rapidly escalating global prices. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, the methodology is in place and has continued to be used. Mr. Speaker, sir, another question related to the mechanism in place to ensure that relief fuel supplies funds are passed on to passengers. I must say, the implication that bus operators are somehow lining their pockets at the expense of ordinary passengers is both unfair and disconnected from the realities currently faced by the bus industry. And Mr. Speaker, sir, if government had chosen to do nothing, we would like to be standing here today questioning why bus fares were allowed to rise and why ordinary Fijians were not being protected. And as for the Australian dollars 30 million budget support to from the Australian government, Mr. Speaker, sir, the support is timely As a grant financing provided through general budget support, it will strengthen government's overall fiscal position and help preserve fiscal space to maintain essential services and approve support measures, particularly at a time when households and businesses are facing fuel and cost of living pressures. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to also talk on the questions on the contingency plan that government has. As I mentioned before, government finances are stable and revenue have performed in line with our initial projections. We are aware of the rising downside risk on our growth, softer demand, and elevated living shocks. These developments may place pressure on our revenue collection in the months ahead, particularly if geopolitical tensions continue to disrupt global trade, tourism flows, and fuel supplies. And government has been actively exploring a range of contingency measures and fiscal safeguards to ensure that public finances remain sustainable and that essential services continue without disruption. Mr. Speaker, sir, the reality is that the duration and volatility of this crisis remain uncertain. Global fuel markets continue to be highly unpredictable, and there is no clear indication as to how long these pressures will persist. Nonetheless, we remain committed to closely monitoring global developments and will continue to assess our policy options carefully. We will act cautiously to ensure that any decision taken remains sustainable over the medium to long term, while protecting the integrity of government coffers and maintain fiscal sustainability. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I thank the Honourable Esrom Immanuel, the Minister of Finance.